Ooh, shiny new tail light. Hi, Tony here, welcome back to the cave, and in this episode I'm going to be fitting the new Motone Customs Eldorado tail light to the Bonneville T100 project. Now I was originally going to run with the small black Bates tail light on this bike. After choosing that one, before I actually got to that part of the build, Motone Customs had launched a new range of LED tail lights. So I thought, well, actually, I like the look of these, let's go for one of these. And the one I plumped for was the Eldorado. Now the tail light comes in two parts. This is the light itself, and then there's a mounting cup. And we'll look at that in a little bit closer details. But just wanted to give you an idea of what this looks like. A really nice, small, classic looking tail light with an integral LED number plate light underneath as well. You also got one with a bar that goes across, which is a very kind of a classic 50s American car style tail light. Right, so the first part you get is the tail light itself, and in the secondary box you get this rather nice metal mount, and this base is curved to fit on a mudguard, and as well as that you get a little rubber grommet to sit underneath that, and all of the fixing kit. What I really like about this setup is by the time you feed those wires through this hole and mount that on there, you've got a very clean setup. The wires go through under the mudguard, hidden out of the way. Now just to have a look inside this, I've taken the two bolts out of there. Again, this is an all metal piece, and there you can see the LED light setup. Now there's also a very neat way to get this onto the mount so that you don't see any fixings, that you get a nice smooth back on this, and that involves just taking that front end apart, and underneath you can see you've got two brass screws. They screw into the threaded section on here, and then the LED light goes back over the top. There's two fixing screws to fix that down here, and then the cover goes in, and then everything is hidden, and you've got no unsightly mount. So really nice piece. Looking forward to getting this on the bike. First thing to do though is to mark up the rear mudguard and get this positioned correctly. Right, now I've offered the base unit up to the mudguard. I've left the seat in place to get an idea of where I want to sit it, and kind of about there. See, it's nice and high up. I can get the plate mounted on the back of the mudguard here. I've got a nice vertical face for the light here, so it's not looking too far down. So around about there is going to be right. It clears the rear seat. Now I've just stuck some masking tape over the top just so that I can mess around on this without damaging the mudguard. I'll get the seat off to get that out of the way. Then I'll just need to measure the mudguard, find my center line, then I can mark the holes. So now I've measured across the width here. I found my center point and just drawn myself a straight line, so I've got a pretty decent reference point, and then it's just a case of laying the guide on there, getting the top hole central in the line, and then you just can measure it out to these holes here, mark those holes, and then you're ready to drill. So now I've got the holes marked out, and don't forget the center one, because you're going to run the cables down through under the mudguard. And then I'm just going to use a small punch just to give myself a little starting point for the drill, so it doesn't go skating across the mudguard. And then it's just a very small pilot hole for each of those to get it going. Now I don't have to worry about putting anything under here to protect the tyre, because that drill is not going to go through far enough. But then I can just very carefully in my mount. Get my pilot holes done. Now I've got those, I'm just going to check what size the mounting bolts are, take those holes out to the appropriate side. I'm just going to make this one big enough to get the cables through, and I'll have a rummage around in my box to see if I've got a grommet to put in there just to stop the wiring from chafing on there. I'll just measure these. I think these are an M5. Yeah, they're an M5, so I'll probably just give a little bit of space, do a 6 or 7 mil hole, just so you've got a bit of breathing room. And there you go, with the masking tape off, you've got your 3 mounting holes here, and the larger hole in the middle. I've just put that rubber grommet in there. That's still going to sit on there quite nicely, but don't forget you've got this rubber grommet to sit underneath. And there you have it, that's that bolt in place. With this mounted neatly, we've got the wires run through. It's just then a case of a little bit fiddly, but pulling this through enough to be able to access these holes. And then you've got these brass screws that just do up into there. So a little 8mm socket would just get those done up nice and tight. Then you can feed this back in, remembering to get the LED lights facing down to where the hole is so they can be fed through. And then you've got just the two small mounting screws to hold the PCB in place. Don't want to do those up too tightly and split the printed circuit board. Then you can fit your lens cap. Just make sure you don't lose that rubber seal. Get your lens cap back on. So that's now on and done up. Looks really good. As I say, nice and neat. You've got no external fixings or wires anywhere. I'm now going to put another hole further up here so that I can run the wiring through. The wiring on the back is not particularly long. I could pop it up just here, but I think you're going to see that from under the seat. So the further back I can do this, the better. That just means that I'll have to put some of the loom through here and connect underneath, but I'll shrink wrap that, and then it's just a case of connecting it up. Get the seat back on and see what it looks like. So the hole has been drilled here, another grommet, and that allows me to feed through the Motone plug and play rear wiring harness. And this harness is pretty straightforward. That just plugs in to the appropriate section on the loom here. So you've got a set of wiring for the indicators, and the bit that I've already pushed through, you've got the 3 wires which tie up with the connectors on the rear light itself. And you may have also noticed that I took the rubber gasket out from underneath here. I think it's got a neater look, and in reality all that gasket is there to do is to offer a little bit of leeway depending on the profile of the mudguard that you're fitting it to. Now obviously this is a Motone bracket on a Moto mudguard, so it fits perfectly. The profile is correct. You don't really need to put that seal on, so I've taken it off to make that look a bit nicer. But if you're putting this light onto a different mudguard and the profile's not quite the same, that rubber gasket's just going to give you a little bit of leeway. I'll just get these connected up, and then if the battery is still alive in this, we'll give it a try. Let's turn the ignition on. There you go. We've got the tail light and we've got the rear number plate light, and let's just check the brake lights. Yeah, I've got a studio light flashing on it, so it does dull it down, but this is a really nice bright light, and there you go, pretty neat. So I'm just going to get the rest of this tidied up, get the seat back on, show you what it looks like. With the seat back on, I think this is a great looking light. It's really neat. You've got no external wiring or anything sticking out, and that's one reason I like this over the Bates unit, because you still have the wiring coming out of the back which you need to hide. This is all nicely tucked up underneath the mudguard. Now, as I've come to expect from Motone, this is a really nicely finished piece. All metal construction, really nice bright LED light. You've got the LED number plate light underneath. As you can see, it looks great on the bike. I think it's just the kind of style that we're going for. I'm really pleased with it. As usual, I'll put some links up in the top corner that will take you away so you can go away and have a look at this new range of lights. If you like what I'm doing, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Yeah.